the Southampton Town Board to order on this 10th day of October 2023. Please rise if you're able and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and join with me in a moment of silence. We traditionally pause at the beginning of our meetings to keep in our thoughts and prayers all the men and women of our armed services who bravely defend our freedoms at home and abroad. Today, though, I'd also like you to keep in your thoughts and prayers the people in the Mideast, in Israel, which is now at war, and we're all watching the horrific events unfold on our TVs, but there are lots of people who are living them directly, and a lot of us who have friends and family there, and everybody is concerned about the well-being of those individuals. So let's pause in silence and send our thoughts and prayers to all of them. Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Gotta work on my chair.
Sorry.
Chair's not working very well. I'm trying to get it to scoot
Mine's
forward.
working really well. You must have gotten my chair.
Someone keeps switching the chair. Supervisor Schneiderman.
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Martell.
Present.
Councilman Bouvier.
Here.
Councilman Scavone.
Present.
Okay, so we have everyone here. Let me start by making a motion to walk a few resolutions on. There's 4 requests for add-ons to our agenda. The 44441 is our 19th warrant. 44452 appoints Epic EPIC insurance brokers and consultants as insurance broker for the town. 44453 authorizes the town controller to purchase the necessary property, casualty, auto, liability, insurance policies. And the last one, 44454, authorization for the supervisor to sign a second lease amendment with New York SMSA Limited Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, for space on the water tower located at Old Riverhead Road in Hampton Bays.
Second.
All right, so I'm making a motion to walk those 4 on. Councilman Bouvier seconding. This requires 4 out of 5. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So those 4 will be added to our agenda. All right. Next up, let me make a motion to approve the minutes of our regular town board meeting on September 26th, 23.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Next, I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from our special town board meeting of October 2nd of 23.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. And next, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our special town board meeting of October 5th, 2023.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, next I'd like to ask the clerk, Sandy Schirmeyer, to read the communications.
The following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the New York State Office of Cannabis Management notification to municipalities from the listed retail dispensary with premises. There are 9 listed. From the Board of Trustees of the Freeholders in Commonality, Town Fire Districts, 2024 budget hearing dates and times, and the 2024 proposed fire district budget amounts. The emails, letters, and postcards have been received regarding the following: Bel Air Cove Motel property, Hampton Bays, Best Moratorium, Canal South Battery Storage LLC, cannabis dispensary proposed in Bridgehampton, FEIS change of zone application entitled Liberty Gardens, Southampton, licensing of landscapers, preservation of Spring Farm, Bridgehampton, renewable energy as default CCA, and U.S. Coast Guard housing in West Hampton. Bid and request for proposals were received on September 27th for a rebid for a Ford F-250 Super Duty truck for the Parks and Recreation Department. And the following report was filed from the Town Comptroller for the September 2023 monthly financial report. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Okay, we're going to move on to public hearings. There are 6 scheduled for today. We'll be doing this as a hybrid meeting, so you'll have opportunities here at Town Hall to speak, as well as if you're watching from a remote location. All right, Madam Clerk, would you read the first public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 1, to consider enforcement action at 11 Flanders Road, Riverside.
All right, and introducing this is Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the board. This enforcement action is no longer needed at this time, so I'm very happy to tell the board that. These people promptly did what we've asked of them. They've removed that canopy structure and erected safety fencing. The property is by no means how we'd like it to look in its final state, and for that matter, how the owners would like it to look in their final state. They have an application pending before our planning board. The life safety concern was addressed, though. This is no longer needed.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on public hearing number 1? All right, Charles, we're going to go online. Is there anyone watching from a remote location who wishes to be heard at public hearing number 1 concerning enforcement action at 11 Flanders Road in Riverside?
I see no hands.
If you wish to be heard, please click the raise hand icon.
No hands.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we move on to public hearing number 2. Madam Clerk?
Public hearing number 2, to accept a deed of dedication in connection with a subdivision known as Map of Chicken Briar in Eastport.
Okay, Deputy Town Attorney Christine Scalera will introduce this.
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the board. For your consideration today is the acceptance of an open space parcel totaling approximately 1 acre on an approximate 3.845 acre site in connection with the Map of Chicken Briar located at 38 North Bay Avenue in Eastport. The map is located in the CR20 zoning district and is further identified on the Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-351-162. The final application consists of a cluster plan with 4 building lots with an average size of 31,000 square feet and then a 5th lot of open space. The final plat is consistent with the Planning Board's recommendation for a reduced yield open space standard plan, which encompasses the natural drainage depression and existing concrete sluiceway and provides a connection to the existing town open space around the property. And you can see the lot here, this is the 5th lot, this is town open space, and as well as town open space abutting it to the top. If the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I'll put a resolution of adoption on your next agenda after we close the
So the
hearing.
5th lot is the open space lot?
Correct.
It's in the middle, and who ends up owning that? Is that something
We
that?
do.
They give it to the town at the
Yep.
end?
We would be accepting that dedication of open space.
And where are the access to the 4 lots located?
They have 2 different accesses. This is lot 1, this is lot 2. These are the common driveway.
Is that a road above it?
I'm sorry?
Where's the main road?
Right above it.
Monthly Avenue.
It's right there.
Okay,
They're on the road.
And then this is lot 3 and 4, and they share a common
driveway, okay,
driveway.
okay, thank you. Any
These
other
are
questions
six
for Ms. Scalera? Okay, thank you, Christine. All right, is there anyone here at Town Hall who wishes to be heard on this, the second public hearing on the deed and dedication? Okay, we'll go online. Again, we are in the middle of a hearing on a open space section of a subdivision known as the Map of Chicken Briar. in Eastport. If you're watching online and wish to be heard at this public hearing, please click the raise hand icon.
There are no minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you read the third public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 3, to consider amending Town Code, Chapter 140, Community Preservation Fund, to update administrative procedures for the CPF pilot plan payments.
Okay, do we know who's presenting on this?
Should be Dan, right? Yeah, Dan or Dorothy.
And are they here? All right, can we pass over this for now? And we'll come back to it if they come here. I think it's important that this gets explained. But let's skip 3 and 4. Let's move on to hearing number 5. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you read the public hearing notice 5?
Public hearing number 5, to consider enactment of Town Code, Section 67-A, entitled Traffic Violation Bureau Enforcement of Civil Violation of New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, BTL, Section 1174-A, hearing before administrative law judge.
All right, and we have Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge here to introduce us.
Good afternoon again, Supervisor Schneiderman and members of the board. This sounds a little bit complicated on its face. Let me break it down a little bit. So September 2019, New York State passed a program in which motorists who passed a stopped school bus with the stop arm out would receive an automated computerized ticket, along with the video of that offense. For the most part, this program went pretty well, because most jurisdictions have what are called TVPAs or TVBs. They are traffic violations bureaus. They're administrative bureaus that are established to handle traffic offenses and parking offenses. This offense is a little bit unique because it's designated a non-criminal offense, meaning that the DMV cannot take action against your license, suspend, scoff, etc., and that the rules of procedure are a little different than a regular VTL violation. So on the East End, our 5 East End towns, our courts cover our VTL violations because criminal procedure applies to them. These violations, as well as, up island, people have the stop light violations, which are not, considered in this bill. But procedurally, they're the only 2 that exist in this same manner. They are civil violations. What that means is there's a lower standard of evidence, there are lax rules of evidence, so on and so forth. I can explain if there are any specific questions about that. So essentially nothing was happening with these tickets initially when people had pled not guilty. Our judges are not the appropriate venue for this for a couple of different reasons. I can go into the specifics if you'd like. But the main one is that the majority of our judges feel hearing these matters would violate their oath as a judge because of the way this law has laid out the violation and the penalties for such. The sentence is a predetermined sentence. First offense, fine. Second offense, fine. Third offense, fine. Judges are supposed to have discretion in setting sentences. More than just guilty or not guilty, they should have a range. You'll see even in county court, when someone's convicted of a homicide, it's 25 to life. It's not a determinate sentence. And a judge has that specific parameter, where an administrative law judge does not. That's a lawyer who's appointed by a board to serve a function. DMV does this in many other places, such as DMV refusal hearings on DWIs, so on and so forth. So this is a proposal to create a procedure outside of the Justice Court to handle school bus stop-arm violations. It's only for this instance. We have a unanimous order of our Southampton Town judges consenting to this program and only this program to be handled outside of the Justice Court, whether that be in person or virtually. We can work with the vendor to establish that process for people as we move forward. The important part is it would afford people the right to a hearing, which they are entitled to. Our judges have suggested they would like pending violations that were issued from 2019 up until enactment of this legislation to be dismissed outright. I would recommend that as well, as these people have not had a process before a tribunal or court at this point. This would fix the underlying issue with this system. It is an important program. We don't want people passing school buses that are stopped with children crossing streets. So this is a way we can make this work. This is a way the judges are comfortable, they're not violating their oath, and we are following the rules of evidence to a T by making this an administrative procedure with a lower standard of evidence and more lax standards for introducing evidence such as videos.
The program that you're referencing is a county program. That's under New York State statute, it is open to the counties in New York State.
Correct.
And not the towns. But we've adopted it as a county program in the town of Southampton.
Correct.
So that kind of complicates
It
this.
does. To add a layer to that, school districts can actually opt in as well. So even if a town has not opted in, the school district may.
Love it.
So this is a program that's here to stay. It's a state program, and it's been adopted largely throughout the state.
So currently there, if I,
No, you can-
in Suffolk County, there are 10 towns, 5 West End towns, 5 East End towns, and in the 5 West End towns, Huntington, Smithtown, Babylon, Islip, and Brookhaven, people who are in violation of this would go to the Traffic Bureau in Hauppauge.
Correct.
And get it taken care of there. But the 5 East End towns has their own justice court systems, which complicates this. So what we are doing
does.
is something similar to the county, but this is our program specific. This is our
Right.
administrative program specific to this particular county program for school bus cameras.
That's right.
Only.
So
That's a
our
question
5
and a statement, yeah.
Right. Our 5 East End towns have the same authority as the Traffic Violations Bureau. The judges are not comfortable with these matters. So they still will be handling VTL violations, parking violations, registrations, insurance. Those types of tickets will still be answerable in court. This procedure will be for this scenario only. Town law, section 67 of our town code and various provisions of other town codes for the other East End towns give our justice courts, for the East End speaking generally, the jurisdiction of a traffic violations bureau. The way the state law is worded and our local law is worded, our judges have the ability to schedule and operate how a traffic violations bureau would act. That's why we have a signed court order today. I've passed up to the town clerk an order of our judges. It mirrors the language in the resolution of adoption before this board today, outlining a procedure, that it's only the procedure for 1174A tickets, and that the Justice Court would retain jurisdiction of all other traffic and parking violations.
What if the violation occurs within one of the villages? We have 7 villages.
So we've written a provision here where villages could opt in and execute IMA agreements with a town. The idea was that each of the 5 East End towns, if they were to adopt a similar program, could lay out this framework and allow the villages within each respective town to form a program alongside the town as a partner.
Could we hear violations for other towns? Could we do that through an IMA as well? So let's say East
We
Hampton
could.
wanted to just use our system.
Right, some other towns are not going to have the volume that Southampton Town does. So I'd imagine this program will be very effective for us, but say on, Shelter Island or East Hampton, they may not have the volume of, school buses being passed because they may not have that same population going to school, frankly.
I think
So
there's
that
been
is
very,
something
very
we can
little
explore.
in Shelter Island, for sure, it has been.
Right.
Right. Has any of the other towns set up something already?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
We've been in talks with the county and the folks over at Bus Patrol, and no one's really,
No, I've had discussions with the other town attorneys since this program was first put in place, countywide. And quite frankly, some of the other towns didn't really know what they were gonna do. I think we have to do this. I think this, and Sean's
Yeah.
been working hard
So
on
we
it.
might want to make it available.
Yeah, no,
to
I
the other
agree.
towns
I think we
for a
should.
Small
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
administrative cost or something. Now,
I agree.
who appoints the ALJ?
So this draft leaves that ability with the town board. And the reason being, we're not sure who's going to prosecute these offenses. If it's going to be a police officer showing up, if you'd like the town attorney's office to prosecute. And we don't want the town attorney's office appointing an ALJ if it's also going to serve as the prosecution. So we left that power with the board. I
It's
do
done
think.
through an RFP, correct?
Yes, so you call for resumes and qualify people, and, you know, there are lots of folks already doing this type of work at the county TVB. Some of them may be available as well.
And then the reason for doing it this way is because these are not pleadable offenses, correct? You're either guilty or you're
Correct,
innocent.
you're guilty or not guilty, and there's a fine or no fine.
Okay.
So when you enter a plea in court, you can enter a plea guilty and get a 0 fine if you have some kind of, you know, crazy circumstance and explanation for why you violated the law. You could, you know, any number of things. You can get a community service sentence. We've worked on implementing many of those types of sentences into our own local law. That's not an option here. It's fine, no fine, liable or not liable. So the judges are very uncomfortable hearing these matters for that reason.
Is it appealable if you don't like what the administrative law judge says? Can
Well-
you go take it to a regular court?
Everything's always appealable. There's not really a process laid out for these. That being said, it certainly is appealable.
So Sean, when we spoke about this last time, trying to get an idea of the statistics behind how much are we actually looking at and what kind of burden does that place on our judicial system here in the town? Is it thousands? Is it hundreds? Is it tens? You know,
Right now, I believe the town has somewhere around 400 cases that are pending.
per,
Since it went into effect.
Since it went into effect.
Right,
so
so
that's been
people,
over a few years,
Yeah.
so.
people that have viewed their videos and entered a plea of, you know, not guilty or not liable, that have contested and are looking for a hearing. Up until now, hopefully, you know, we haven't had a process and we will have a process for them. Typically, that's a long time to wait, from 2019 to 2023. We like to see, you know, on any courthouse, following standards and goals, a 2-year turnaround would be average. You know, on a long case, on a traffic offense, usually much shorter than that. So, you know, these folks have been hanging in there without an answer for a while. That's why our judges have recommended we, you know, simply dismiss that initial batch. But moving forward, there would be enough people contesting these to keep an ALJ busy.
And does
Can-
that ALJ get compensated?
The town would have to compensate that individual or individuals.
Okay, so we'd have to have that somewhere in the budget,
Yeah.
possibly out of the school bus camera revenue, which
Right.
is,
Correct.
There's additional overheads that implies on top of just, not
That's
just the
correct.
ALJ.
The vendor will pay the other fees associated with this, scheduling, correspondence, so on and so forth, that type of thing. They cannot directly pay a salary for an ALJ.
they can't.
No.
An administrative law judge, is that individual considered a New York State judge in the unified court system?
No.
Okay.
They're an attorney appointed for the sole purpose of this type of hearing.
And can they dismiss fines?
They can find people not liable with no fine, yes.
I've heard some interesting stories myself about people who get a photograph and they, whatever. Circumstances can be interesting.
Absolutely.
I'll say that, and, you know, may not be of any fault of their own. So there is that. When we put this on our books, I had concerns about this, you know, administrative law kind of avenue that the county has followed. I don't know if anybody's ever been there. If you go there and you get a ticket, you know, it's, you're paying it. And there's really not much you can, you know, say to a judge or plead your case, whatever, which kind of, I thought flies in the face of the spirit of our judiciary. That's my opinion, and I had concerns
Understood.
about this, and so long as this only applies to the school bus camera
Yeah.
program.
Correct.
And which is,
And we left it so your board would be choosing the individuals hearing these types of proceedings. So you don't have to have somebody overly strict, you don't have to have somebody overly lenient. You want someone who's going to be fair and equitable and, you know, do the right thing.
Yeah. We have talked to a few of the individuals who are serving as administrative law judges in the county and over in Hopog. So, and the people I've talked to are expressing interest to work with the town as well. So People
Yeah,
have
they
had
hire a lot of
experience.
village justices for that position, or at least they did when they started.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Cambridge?
Nope.
All right, let's go to the public. Is
everybody.
there anyone who wishes to be heard at this public hearing related to the school bus camera program? Seeing none, we'll go online. If you wish to be heard at the public hearing on the school bus camera program,
It's on
please
for
click the raise hand icon.
No hands.
All right, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Martell, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're gonna go back now to public hearing number 3. Madam Clerk, would you read the third public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 3, to consider amending Town Code, Chapter 140, Community Preservation Fund, to update administrative procedures for the CPF pilot plan payments.
Okay, introducing this will be Jacqueline Fenlon, our CPF program manager.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all. Today we are here because we wanted to memorialize the state legislation that was adopted regarding the CPF program. So this was state enabling legislation that was adopted on December 23rd of 2022 that raises the standard for CPF pilot program for an extraordinary hardship. So this is payments that are made in lieu of taxes that would not be received for preserved lands for state, county, town, and CPF purchases alike, which are all exempt. So this is the Peconic Bay region payments for school, fire protection, and ambulance districts from the Community Preservation Fund for this tax relief. So this was enacted in 2002. There was amendments in 2007, 2008, and 2009. So this is the most recent amendment. So this would be amending Chapter 140-3 of the Town Code that is presently before you. And if you look, we did not strike out any passages. We just added the state enabling legislation to make it very clear that we are able to amend the section and define an extraordinary financial hardship. So if you go to D, there is the underlined portion, which is on my page 3. So right after State of New York or municipal corporation. So it states, beginning with the 2023-2024 tax year, the town may make payments to school, fire protection, and ambulance districts from the Southampton Town Community Preservation Fund. Such payments may be made to mitigate the impact of lost tax revenues from lands made wholly exempt as a result of their acquisition by federal, state, or local government for the preservation of community character, as defined in subdivision 4 of section 64E of the town law. Before approving such payments, the town board shall determine that the the lost tax revenue would result in extraordinary financial hardship to such districts. So it goes on to then provide additional language that is brought in from the state legislation, and I just wanted to point out that this would never be more than 10%. It would never exceed 10% of CPF tax revenue in a full calendar year. So right now we would be imposing this based upon the allocation and funding we received in 2022.
Right, that becomes the available pot for this program.
Correct, yes.
Which is
prior-
not a change to the code originally.
No, that's the current.
Yeah, that is in there. So actually, I was looking for where it is there. It's actually directly underneath 1.
Right,
It's in the middle
yeah.
of that paragraph. So it reads, commencing with 2009, town shall use the prior calendar year's revenues to determine the maximum amount available for pilot allocations to eligible districts pursuant to the state mandated limitation up to 10%. And that's also in state legislation as well.
This is available to the 5 East End towns for the Community Preservation Fund,
Correct.
the Peconic Bay region. And this is an optional program. Do any of the other 4 East End towns give pilot payments to their fire
No,
districts or
I
schools?
believe at this point, we are the only town that participates in this program.
East Hampton, I believe, is going to do
They're
it
considering it?
Yeah.
now
I think with the
for
new-
Spring School District.
Okay,
Yeah, I
and
think
we've
with
been
this
doing this
legislation,
since
they can do it.
'98, since
Two-
its inception,
2002.
2002.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Current supervisor and I have conferred about he had questions about the program,
Mhm.
how it works. So I know that East Hampton is considering doing this.
Yes.
They didn't have the ability until
No,
this law
Until
to
this
do it.
legislation.
So, because originally it was really based on the Pine Barrens.
Right.
Yes.
School districts that had a significant amount of land already off the tax rolls.
Yes.
And then it was sort of, you know, other areas were allowed in, like particularly East Quogue, I believe, Hampton Bays.
Yeah.
Well, it was, basically, it was an application.
Yeah,
by
East
school
Quogue, I was gonna
districts
say,
to-
East Quogue School Board, we petitioned to the
Right.
state. We petitioned to Fred Thiel to get the legislation changed so that we.
To allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
there's
to
a,
try to make it equitable, it's.
You know, and certainly Flanders Riverside is an area, you know, lower income area in general. So it was to provide some tax relief.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to CDBG in a way. I mean, it's based on income and allocation in that same sense to try to find an equitable distribution of those funds
yeah, so.
under that
It-
hardship.
Yeah, it
condition.
started with the Pine Barrens and the hardship caused by the Pine Barrens enactment, but then it expanded, and the town of Southampton basically had this, and there are existing school districts that applied that we just made the payments in June of 2023.
So
School
this,
districts.
what we're hearing, this public hearing number 3 is really to establish within our code language that matches the state's authorization, so
Correct.
that it becomes part of our procedures.
Yep.
The next public hearing is the details, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So-
Yeah, so this really just memorializes and mimics the state legislation to get it into our town code.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so, any other questions for Jackie? And Dan is here too, McCormick, CPF program attorney, if we need him. All right, we'll go to the public. Is there anyone who wishes, I don't have cards on this, Ms. Lombardi, would you like to be heard? And I do see representatives of our local schools here as well, perhaps for the next hearing.
Actually, that's it. My name is Galen Barton from Hampton Bays. I am hoping that the school districts weigh in. I haven't followed this, but, I mean, in some of the research we've been doing for the Civic Association, I mean, the amount of school investment in our children varies greatly, and, you know, Hampton Bays is, and I believe East Quogue, maybe not, I'm not sure. Is at the lower end of that? I mean, I think it's really important to the Hampton Bays School District if we can maximize, I mean, I don't have children in the school district, but I care about my community. If we could maximize that, so I'm hoping whatever change you're making isn't somehow making it more stringent, so I'm hoping that Laws has, you know, looked into this and you've reached out to him and make sure that he's comfortable with whatever you're doing, because it's, I think, really important to Hampton Bays. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Thank you.
As far as, so Hampton Bays is already a recipient. I don't know that the Hampton Bays ambulance, though, is currently, it will be a recipient. Or the fire, right, Jackie, in the next one. So I think there's some additional money that will come in terms of relief for Hampton Bays. The one caveat to that is, as other districts get included, and the pot of money, that 10%, if it ever got tapped out, we're a long way from it, then it could diminish areas that are currently in the program.
The Hampton Bays Library is part of this, previously,
Hampton
will
Bays
remain.
Library, but I don't know that the ambulance was.
No.
It's not.
So the ambulance will be, and that's a significant amount of money. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this? Okay. All right, we'll go to our online audience. If you're viewing from a remote location, such as home or office, and you wish to be heard, please click the raise hand icon. This is only for the third public hearing, establishing the procedures in our town code for this revised CPF pilot program.
No hands.
All right, I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Madam Clerk, the fourth public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 4, to consider adoption of the annual CPF pilot payment plan 2023-2024 tax year.
Okay, and once again, Jacqueline Fenlon, our CPF program manager, will introduce this.
Yes, so this is to consider adoption, this is the public hearing to consider adoption of a CPF pilot payment plan. So this would be enacted for the 2023 and 2024 school year. So with this one, I did want to say and give a thanks to, we did have a CPF pilot advisory team who is helping shepherd us along the way. So I did want to thank Dorothy Godlewski, who is our comptroller, Teresa Kiernan, who's the tax receiver, and then also Lisa Goree, the sole assessor, and Ross Baldwin. So this was very helpful when we were going over all the figures to try to define a fair way to get to the definition of extraordinary hardship. So in this one, this would be an extraordinary financial hardship to respective school, fire, and fire protection and ambulance districts. So the nuts and bolts of this are for the we reviewed the 2022 and 2023 school budgets, fire protection and ambulance districts total assessment, and wholly exempt parcels. We also reviewed the respective real property tax rates per 1,000 of assessed valuation, and the resultant tax property loss. We also reviewed the total real property tax levy and the real property tax loss as percentage of the real property tax levy. And in this area, we reviewed this very detailed, and we found that any school districts with a tax rate equal to or greater than $5 per 1,000 of assessed valuation, but excluding those districts that possess a total assessed valuation equating to $5 billion or more would be eligible. And those fire districts, fire protection and ambulance districts with tax rate equal to or greater than 50 cents per 1,000 of assessed valuation would be included in this and eligible. And that would be the definition of an extraordinary financial hardship within the town of Southampton.
Can you read which school districts would be eligible for next year if this is adopted based on those criteria of extreme
So
hardship?
we do have an idea, and the goal here was to include all districts that are currently within. The only thing, though, is I can't speak to the exact numbers because we haven't received all of the school districts' budgets as of
But
yet.
tentatively, so who gets CPF pilot programs with
So
this formula?
these are
if
based
nothing
upon
else
old
changes?
figures, so,
Yeah,
you know,
nothing else
these will
changed.
change, yeah.
I think it's important.
And their budgets were set in the springtime.
Hmm?
Their budgets were voted on.
And the tax receiver, I think, has a certain time to receive them until.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have that exact date. So usually she receives them by the end of October. But there might be an exact date for when she needs to receive them to adopt it into the budget.
Yeah, if you have it and
Yes. Let's see here. So it would be Riverhead, who is existing and in, Remsenburg as well.
that's a new one.
Yep, that's a new one. And then also Hampton Bays, which is
That's
an
existing.
existing one. And then Tuckahoe and East Quogue.
Tuckahoe is new and East Quogue is existing.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
And then that's with the $5 tax rate. And then with the 50 cents,
Now, this is the,
this would be
Fire
for
and
fire ambulance protection areas. So this would be Eastport, would be East Quogue, would be Hampton Bays, would be Riverhead, and would be Flanders, as well as Noyak.
those are all new or any of those existing?
No, those are not new. The ones that are existing, let me see here. I have the. Sorry, wrong notes. From the 2023 one, we had eligible fire districts of Riverhead, Flanders, and Quogue Fire Protection and Northampton Ambulance.
So there's like 3 or 4 new ones though,
Yeah.
including Hampton Bays.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, this was based upon the figures that we had at the time when we were reviewing all this,
Yeah,
so.
I'm not gonna ask you to read the actual estimated or tentative allocations, but
Mhm.
the school districts, if they want that information to get an idea for their budgeting purposes.
Yeah.
Because typically, a school district's not gonna know how much property is off the tax rolls,
Correct.
and what they would have paid to the school had they been on the tax rolls. And it's not just CPF, it's also state properties, federal properties,
Yeah.
county properties. So, but in some schools, it's hundreds of thousands. In the case of, I think, some schools, it's north of $1 million, so.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, substantial funding based upon
Substantial
tax
funding.
loss, yeah, and this is
Some schools,
supposed
it's
to
a
be.
lesser contribution.
Yeah,
But to re-stress that this is derived from a 2% fee that comes from buyers of homes, and
Yeah.
it's directly related to the market, so that expands or contracts depending on
correct.
what's available in the overall fund, up to 10%.
Up to 10%, correct. Yeah, we are limited by that 10% threshold.
Right. so far we've only, with the current allocation, I think hit about 60% of that number. We haven't reached the cap yet.
There was 1 year that I'm told that
We
I did
were-
not experience myself, but that was over.
1 year was.
Yeah, and
we
then
had
so
to
it was an
reduce it.
equal percentage that was prorated from each school district to keep
Okay.
it fair, yeah. But otherwise, yes, we have
Depends
not.
on the year.
It does, yeah,
That's the point.
yeah. Yeah,
It's not,
so-
yeah, it's
I
not.
think
a-
that was
An expectation
18.
From year to
And
year.
isn't it every year we have to authorize this? So one
Correct.
year, if the town didn't authorize it, the schools would get nothing.
Yes, again, this is purely voluntary, at the town board's discretion.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to go, well, the school districts give us their budgets, and that's the levy, so
Correct.
that doesn't change. It's only, we then reduce the tax rate by adding this money in the CPF pilot program, so that it lowers the taxes that people, the idea was it wasn't supposed to be a additional money for the school, where they could then go on a spending spree. It was supposed to just provide relief to the taxpayers.
Correct,
That
this was
the
supposed to be
idea.
tax abatement for those areas that
And it won't
have
affect their,
preserved lands.
and it won't affect their calculation for the tax cap either, so.
Right.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to our public. Is there anyone wishing to be heard on this particular formula for determining extreme hardship and creating the eligibility for CPF pilot programs? Len, superintendent of.
Len Skokovic, superintendent.
You're good, Len, Superintendent Skokovic, I don't know how to say it exactly, but.
Good afternoon, Len Skokovic, superintendent from Tuckahoe. I wanted to thank the committee for all of their diligence in setting all of this up. I know it was a very quick turnaround from the bill coming along and you being able to do all of this, so thank you. We appreciate the town for participating as well. And I just had one question about, I believe you said at the next meeting, we might be able to get some more details on this? Or
You can
Privately
get
accessible.
directly from Ms. Van Len
Okay,
the tentative allocation.
okay, great.
Again, it really shouldn't affect your budgeting.
Right.
It will affect ultimately the taxpayers in a Tuckahoe school because we'll collect a little bit less from them because of this.
Correct, that's the intent.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you
But
so
we-
much.
We can give you sort of an indication of what type of number it might be.
Appreciate that. Thank you all, and thank you.
All right, anyone else? Sean, you good? Bob, you good? Okay. All right, we'll go to our online audience. We are in the middle of public hearing number 4 on the formula we're using to determine eligibility for CPF pilot payments. If you wish to be heard, please click the raise hand icon.
I see no hands.
All right, I'll make a motion to close,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Bouvier. Jackie, there's no reason to leave this open, right? Okay,
I don't know,
well, I'm okay closing it. All right.
Yeah, because it's more directly
I'm just gonna
between
withdraw.
the affected entities.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there a resolution up for adoption today?
We'll have that for you at the next meeting.
All right, so if people want to send, they can comment the public portion, they could comment in mail before we vote on it. So, okay, we've already held public hearing number 5, so we will move on to public hearing number 6. Madam Clerk, would you read the public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 6, to consider the historic landmark designation of the structure known as the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, located at 76 Main Street, Village of West Hampton Beach.
All right, thank you, Sunday. And who is introducing this? Is Julie- Oh, Ed Wasowski,
There, I was looking.
head of our landmarks committee.
We won't take offense if you all want to leave.
You'll need a hall pass, though.
Personally escorted downstairs.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and council members. The Landmarks Board is proud to recommend the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center for landmark designation. This is being done by virtue of an intermunicipal agreement that was negotiated by the town attorney's office for the town of Southampton and the village of West Hampton Beach. The village does not have a historic review board, and so it asked for the opportunity to have the town of Southampton provide a historic preservation regimen for this particular building, this particular structure, I should say. This would provide the opportunity for the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center Board to possibly apply for Community Preservation Fund opportunities that might be used for the preservation of the building down the road. In looking at the application that was filed earlier this year, the Landmarks Board found that the structure did meet 3 of the 5 requirements in the Landmarks Code. One is it does preserve the architectural style of a movie theater. Secondly, it had importance in the cultural life of the community of West Hampton Beach, as well as the town of Southampton, as an attraction center for both movies and subsequently other performing arts. And thirdly, it is a very familiar aspect to Main Street, West Hampton Beach, both for passersby and the motorists there. So on that basis, the Landmarks Board recommends the town engage in the designation as a landmark for this particular structure.
Can I ask it, because we did something similar with the cinema in Sag Harbor, and it was a historic district, it was a contributing building, even though it had burned down, and the town came in with significant CPF funds ultimately to help with that restoration. And we've been having a conversation in Hampton Bays about the movie theater there, and I could say all those 3 criteria that you just said could apply in that. I know that's not the subject of today's hearing, but it's certainly familiar, it's part of the cultural life, its architecture reflects what typical movie theater might look like. So what is it that distinguishes this? Does it have to be of a certain age to become a historic landmark?
Usually landmarks are of an older character, but that's not a specific requirement. And in this case, the West Hampton movie theater, the original movie theater, dates to, I think, 1932, and has undergone renovations in kind that were geared to preserving its features in the 1990s. It's not a specific kind of dating that's involved, but it is associated with what makes it meaningful to the community, both its contribution to the community's life as well as the sentimental and emotional attachment people get to buildings. And I will say that cinemas and cinema facades do seem to attract the most emotional response very often of buildings, both in villages, and I think you can see something of that discussion in the village of Southampton at the moment as well, with respect to its old cinema. So I don't know much about the Hampton Bays cinema to...
So it hasn't been formally looked at by your committee to
No.
see? Because I've been told that it won't meet the definition. Now, there's 2 definitions. You have a landmarks definition, and CPF has a slightly different definition where it has to be a contributing building within a historic district, something like that. Whereas yours just has to meet those criteria, your, of three of whatever, of your 5 criteria.
Well, I believe the CPF has to have a protective historic preservation regimen over a structure for it to be able to acquire any interest in it. And so there's no incorporated village of Hampton Bays, so it's a town jurisdiction. The Landmarks Board could look at it in some fashion down the road.
Yeah, I'd be interested in exploring that. So,
Thank you for that.
Ed, when, are you done?
I know that's sort of not the subject of this hearing. This is West Hampton Beach.
Oh, you
Performing Arts
surprised
Center. So
me.
I'll just say, and I'll just say, look, this West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, you know, it just makes, to me, total sense that that be protected and preserved, and,
But it was, I just gotta say, because when we first sat down, seems like years ago, I guess it was years ago, to talk about this with West Hampton Beach. So I just applaud what you guys have done. It was a lot of detail that you went through to get to this point, so thank you for that. And, you know, on behalf of the people of West Hampton Beach, I want to thank you as well, because it was something that was really brought up by the residents of that area, so thank you.
yeah, I'm sorry, Tommy John, go ahead.
When a structure is designated like this as a landmark, what are they giving up? Because this is significant, so I'm going to vote yes on this, and I think all of the other sponsors are going to, so yeah, we're all sponsoring it. So this looks pretty good, but can this be torn down? Can it be made into something else? Can it be made a real estate office? What are the restrictions on a property that is landmarked in Southampton?
A review for physical changes would be required if there's an application to change the building's structure in its exterior fashion. That is what is subject to review. In terms of a unique facility like the theater, where it has a kind of configured internally for a specific use, reconfiguring it for office space would likely, it's a change of use, might be an area where there might be some review obligation, but it's probably a gray area in terms of...
It's safe to say it's pretty significant on their part that they are willing to landmark this building in West Hampton, and that they're...
Well, I think to the second component here, if the town
CPF.
comes in and purchases the rights, to,
Well, that was the other part of my question.
to
Supervisor.
protect that facade, or to limit the other uses of the building. Those are those protections, I think, of which you speak. The
For
landmark
CPF.
designation does create some standards for review and puts it in this category, but without that second component, there's still flexibility
Right.
that the building maintains until
exactly
we've
right.
purchased the rights to do those other things. So I hope that's clarified.
So thank you.
No, thank you for your
Thank
work
you.
on this.
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
West
Okay.
Hampton Beach,
It's a
thank
lot of
you.
work.
All right, okay, so that was just the introduction. So now we go to the public. I don't have cards filled out. Julianne, anybody want to say anything here? You don't have to. Mr. D'Angelo, is that distinguished looking young man? Yeah, in the 4th row. If you'll come up.
Oh, the blue coat rule?
Yeah, well, I was forced to.
I don't know, you're sporting that bow tie. It's,
I try to bring some, I like
Pretty-
your tie too.
pretty dapper.
Pretty,
Blue and
looking
white.
pretty good too.
Blue and
Ray
white.
D'Angelo, Hampton Bays. Before I go, I just want to say that on behalf of I'm the vice president of the Hampton Bays Civic Association, and I came here late, so I don't know if you mentioned it, but all our prayers and thoughts go with what's happening in Israel and the chaos there and everything. We just hope for the best outcomes for everybody, and it reminds us what a dangerous world we live in, and how this could happen even to us here, and it's just very upsetting. It's just, and again, our thoughts and prayers with everybody. We hope for the best outcome. I know there's a lot of hostages still involved with this, and again, we just hope for the best. Okay, I just want to say, and I'm not trying to be contentious here. Again, though, we have this problem of like West Hampton Beach, Sag Harbor, and Village of Southampton. And because of the structure and nature of things, and the village people here on the board here, and people like that phrase I got on you guys, the village people. But again, what are we going to do about this? I mean, you go back, well, you can't, the rules don't say that, but it's entrenched and it's unfair, and I even think it's illegal too. So what are we going to do about it? That's what my rhetorical question is to you. I know you guys aren't going to answer me, but what are we going to do about it? We're continuously getting shortchanged here. Hampton Bays doesn't have the government, doesn't have, the history probably and everything, and here we continuously get shortchanged of millions and millions and millions of dollars that go to these villages. And throughout the whole country, the progressive nature of our tax structure is supposed to be wealthier areas pay higher tax rates and more money than areas that are working or middle class or deprived areas. That's not the way it is in Southampton town. We pay the highest tax rate, one of the highest tax rates in Hampton Bays. Some of the people down Red Creek and North pay even a higher tax rate because they're in the Riverhead School District. So how did this come about? How can we pay so much more money? I mean, everywhere is different than us, but in here, the rich get a better deal than we do. So we have to put our heads together and come up with a better plan and change the rules. If those are the rules, they're not fair, and I feel they're unconstitutional. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, and happy Columbus Day to you as well.
That comes up next.
All right, let's go to the back, Julianne.
In our pilot review, the Hampton Bays Fire District is being included in this, in addition to the library and the school.
Hi, so I'm Julianne Benzaboon. I'm the executive director of the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center. We're so thrilled about being landmarked and of course the CPF, and I just feel a need to address, and I think it's worth pointing out and clarifying, that the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center is a not-for-profit organization, and while we are located on Main Street of West Hampton Beach, our service area extends well beyond that. We have an arts education program that serves over 10,000 students each year, and those students come from across the East End and beyond into Suffolk County. Certainly we serve Hampton Bays not just with school day performances, but also our after-school classes and camps. Our patrons come from across the East End and beyond. We serve as a cultural tourist destination. We generate incredible economic stimulation on Main Street, and I think that we are worthy of community preservation funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne.
Thank you.
Ms. Lombardi?
Sorry, I didn't sign up, but I do actually support the West Hampton Beach. That's a fabulous thing. But Jay, you opened the door to Hampton Bays. You know, the original corridor strategic plan, which was still under, adopted as part of the, comprehensive plan, called for this board that was adopted, I think before you were supervisor, that you were supposed to work towards turning that corner into Cinema Square. And there was all kinds of plans. It was part of the strategic plan, and nothing got done, and opened the door for CBS potentially. Now, I'm not sure what's going on with that. But it's supposed to be town funds. It was supposed to be a public-private partnership. Excuse me, because my tongue gets stuck sometimes. And you were supposed to work with the owners of that property to turn that into Cinema Square. So you opened the door to that, and Ray's right. So, I appreciate it. Hopefully, as we work forward, we'll try to work some of these things out. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope there's a way to use CPF funds there, but, the law's pretty strict. Either it meets it or it doesn't, so. Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll go online. We're in the middle of a public hearing, the sixth public hearing related to the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center being designated as a historic landmark. If you wish to be heard, please click the raise hand icon if you're viewing this from a remote location.
There are no hands.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's it for our public hearings. We're going to go to public portion. All right, so in public portion, speakers can speak on any topic they wish. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to make their comments known. The clerk will let you know when you're down to your last 30 seconds. I'll take them in the order I received them. The first speaker will be David Capivari. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Board. My name is Dave Capivari. I live in Hampton Bays. I'm a retired electrical engineering manager, and I'm part of the Between the Bays. Anyway, I'd like to speak today about the Canal BESS battery energy storage system that's being installed right by the Shinnecock Canal. From my research, it seems like Rhineland Energy LLC is the primary contractor. Is that correct? Yeah, well, that is the one that's on record. And according to the documents I have, do you know how many years they've been in business? From their incorporation, it's 2019, so it's been 4 years. Anyway, usually when you hire a contractor, you'd like to vet them out, check out the workmanship, verify that some of their previous projects, are they in compliance with safety regulations? How many, I couldn't find any myself, how many BESS installations has this contractor installed in New York State or Long Island? I couldn't find any. Are you guys aware of anything? Can you help me out?
They're not our contractor. Right, that property and all properties are subject to a 6-month moratorium.
Right,
now,
currently.
but that is a private development, so it's a proposal in front of the planning board.
Right.
Which is frozen right now.
Correct.
It's not a proposal in front of the town board, so.
Right, I'm just bringing up the point that.
Who the company that's proposing the uses, it wouldn't typically come to us.
Right, okay, well, Rhineland an Energy LLC, which was formed 4 years ago, according to all the documentation, they have not installed and have any battery operations currently up and running. So therefore, we can't even vet them out. We can't see if their storage units are truly weatherproof. We don't know anything about their fire safety suppression. We don't even know anything about their workmanship. They are essentially an LLC, which is basically protected by another parent company. So therefore, if there's any problems, they can literally wash their hands and walk away. They're experts at this. They basically are protecting themselves, and they know these facilities are dangerous. There's a higher probability of thermal runaway than they're advertising. And we know this by also the many fires that have broken out all throughout the country, and as recently as East Hampton. And we're putting this in an area which is humid, and it has salt air, and that has a higher propensity to cause these fires. It exacerbates the problem. And we know water will not put out these fires. It's not the agent of choice, because if you put water on these storage units, it's going to short out the ones that are not burning. So that's going to initially exacerbate the fire, and then eventually, if you put enough water on it, it will go out. And that water runoff is highly toxic, and we're very close to the Shinnecock Canal. All the fires that have broken out so far in New York State, Kathy Hochul, as you recall, has told the media, don't worry, they were all in remote areas. Well, this particular one is not really remote. It's very close to homes. It's right next to Sunrise Highway. It's right next to the Shinnecock Canal. So I know you guys are in a tough spot. I know we have a moratorium. If you put it in, or you don't put it in, you get litigation from one side or the other. So it's a wash. So what I'm asking you is basically is to be the heroes. You're all highly educated. All right, you guys are very intelligent. You're on this board. What we're asking is, in light of all the new information and the recent events and the probability of fire and the poisonous gases that they emit, we would like you to just reverse your negative impact statement or declaration on the environment and perhaps have a full environmental impact statement.
That would be the planning board on that piece.
Okay.
Not this board.
And then this other document that you have for your best, I don't know if you guys part of this, but it says that you only need to be 50 feet from a residential property. I think you're missing a few zeros. I think it would be better if it was 5,000 feet, which is about a mile, or even 3,000 feet. Only needs to have 10 feet away from vegetation that will burn. Again, 2 zeros missing, probably closer to 1,000 feet. You also have in this document that all applicants are required to submit an emergency
37.
plan. Oh, okay. It says can sound the alarm and control and extinguish the fire. I would really hope that you would say, instead of can, it really should be must or shall submit a procedure for how to control and mitigate the fire. So we're asking you guys to, reconsider. That's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I'll just say this, so the moratorium is to do exactly that, right? To take all the current information, look at our current zoning. If the current zoning doesn't make sense, we modify the zoning. So I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you what the findings will be, whether in the future they'll be allowed in a zone like, where that one was
Right,
proposed,
exactly.
whether they will or they won't, or under what circumstances. Will they be allowed anywhere in the town? I don't know. But, that's something that the study will determine, and the future town board, who's ever after 6 months. Sometimes moratoriums get extended if they don't have all the information. So the town right now is trying to identify independent expertise to help us with this analysis. And the state is also engaged in a review as well.
Yep.
And so we're hoping to get some additional information from New York State in the next few weeks, because they're on a very expedited time frame. It's been challenging to find expertise to assist the town. We're still looking for that, because we really want to make sure there's, you can't have somebody working for the industry.
Right.
It's got to be somebody working for the
Independent,
municipality.
exactly. All right, it was basically, I don't want to extend my time, but we just hope that you would reconsider. It is right next to it's a bottleneck. It's a small strip of land, Sunrise Highway, Long Island Railroad, the canal, any water runoff. What you really need to do, instead of calling the fire department, I don't want to be facetious here, but we really need to call Arm & Hammer. Because the only way to put out these fires is with dry chemicals, and they have sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate, which is basically the dry chemical that would basically put out these fires. And the fire department doesn't have that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next speaker. Bridget Mayer.
Okay, I'm sort of segueing. Hi, everybody, good to see you again. Okay. As best failure events continue to occur, California 3 weeks ago, last week, Idaho, in a pre-operational facility. The clock has been running on the 6-month moratorium. I believe we're 6 weeks into it at this point. What has happened in the past 6 weeks? Have the town council members tried to revise or correct the current zoning so that these well-documented dangerous industrial facilities are not sited in residential areas? Has anyone from the town hall looked at alternative sites where these industrial-scale battery storage facilities should be located? Are the council members waiting for Governor Hochul to tell them what to do? How can and why should the governor dictate the siting of best facilities in Southampton town? Why hasn't the secret determination been reversed? At the July 11th town board meeting, it was stated, or it was said, that the planning board was poised to revisit the secra and look into requiring a full environmental impact. Why is it acceptable to let the residents of Hampton Bays live in a prolonged state of uncertainty and dread without any answers or action? Is the town board hoping that the residents of Hampton Bays and other Southampton communities will forget about this and the issue will go away? Are you letting the clock run out? It was our understanding that the moratorium would be used as a time to assess, modify, and arrive at conclusions that make sense for the people and the environs of Southampton, as well as climate imperatives, which means appropriate siting. And it has not been merely 6 weeks. We have been imploring you for 6 months to look at the correct solution and the correct location. Just as an aside, our online, presence, we're still out there trying to make people more aware, and people are still coming on board, okay? We will continue to let you know our feelings because we want you to know we're not complacent. We're not really saying, we're not going away. And we're hoping that, as Dave just said, that the right thing will ultimately take place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say something briefly?
Sure.
I mean, I don't think we're waiting, we're not sitting here twiddling our thumbs. The governor, and we're very much not waiting for the governor to tell us where we're putting these in our town. What I'm waiting for at the moment is the governor has put together a safety commission on BES. So for me, and it doesn't make sense for us to rezone these things and then find out that the safety commission comes back with different recommendations or different guidelines or different fire protection codes, and now we've again jumped the gun without knowing all of the facts and put zoning in place that doesn't reflect what's recommended by that commission. So, I mean, for me, I believe that we have to wait for that safety commission to come back with their findings, and then we have to vet those findings, and we have to go forward from there. But I think running to put a code in place is kind of what got us into this mess in the beginning. So I don't think it would be imperative, this board, to rezone this without all the information that's forthcoming from the governor's commission.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next speaker is Steve Crispinelli. Apologies if I've mispronounced your last name.
Quite all right. It's done all the time. I'm used to it.
What's the proper?
Crispinelli.
Oh, did well. I got it.
To the point that there's a commission being organized by the governor. What she's looking into is to mitigate fires, to train people, to have staff ready to put out fires. We're not against the mission of having BES located somewhere in the town. What we are against is having BES 400 feet from my house, and with a wife that needs support to walk 20 feet. It's not something that we don't want in my backyard. As Dave has said, we don't want it in anybody's backyard. The issue about the zoning has only to do with not putting it into residential areas. Put it into commercial areas. Put it closer to where this battery storage is going to be used. One final thing. The CCA initiative. Are you going to put in CCAs all over the place, use the 1,700 locations you've designated for BES in Hampton Bays, put BES in those locations, and then use grid as a backup as you get rid of LIPA or reorganize LIPA? What is going on behind the screen? We don't understand why you still want us to understand that you want this to be in a residential area. Put it out somewhere where it is not going to harm anyone. It's not going to harm unnecessarily the environment. Make it safe. Do what Hochul wants. She's going to want it to be safe. Make us safe. Do the thing you should be doing. Mr. Schneiderman, in an article in the paper a few weeks ago, you said you would stay after your term was over to help the traffic bottleneck, the trade parade. I urge you to stay on and help us get rid of Bess in a residential area at the same time. You're a servant of the people, help us.
Thank you, Steve.
All of you, help us. Thank you.
Steve, I will say this, and whether you believe it or not, when we first put this code in place, maybe we lack some of this more recent information, but hold on, let me just finish. But we certainly, and I was on the board at the time, thought this was a benign use. So like when you say, why would you ever do this in an area near people? You have utilities like substations near people because that power has to get to the people. And we were certainly under the impression that this was relatively benign, that these were just batteries. You have a battery in your car, you have a battery in your cell phone, you have batteries all over the place. And that it was going to be quiet, it wasn't going to be a threat to anybody. And so, we've learned, we all have learned now.
Yes.
And this, what was proposed by that canal also was fairly, industrial scale. It was a large scale facility.
Exactly.
So I don't think anybody saw that coming either, so. But look, right now there's a moratorium in place. We're gonna take a careful look. There's likely going to be changes to the zoning that will come out of it. We can't prejudice this. We have to do a fair study, and if it turns out that those facts are accurate, I can't imagine that the code won't change.
The code should change, for sure. The fact that you thought this was benign at the time, fine. With all due respect, you have a $192,000 planning director who moonlights. And she is not doing anything planning on what's going forward.
That's
You said we're
simply not true.
not very far into it.
That's
Why
simply
haven't you
not
published
true.
anything? Why haven't you
That's
published
unlawful.
anything about what the plans are? What are you planning to do? What questions do you need asked and
So our planning
answered?
director is very actively trying to identify some expertise.
How
for
about
the
putting
board
it in
to
the
review.
newspaper? How about putting it on the town board? What exactly are you doing to protect the people who live in Hampton Bays? That's all we ask.
Mhm.
Show us what you're doing. The moratorium you just said can be extended. Moratoriums can be extended. What we fear is at the end of the extension, you'll say, money speaks. Somebody's gonna build something here. We're gonna make it smaller. It's not gonna be 100,000 megawatts, it's gonna be much smaller. And it'll be we will protect you. We'll build a wall. We're gonna do whatever we need to do. We'll train the firemen. We'll do all that the commission says, but we're gonna put it where residential areas exist. That's wrong. That's something you should face down. You should be going up against the governor if that's what she ends up saying. You're supposed to protect us. You're servants of the people. Protect us, help us.
I
Just
appreciate
get it
it.
out of a residential area.
Thank you, Steve. All right, I have Ms. Lombardi, Gail Lombardi next.
Okay, my topic is actually the downtown overlay district, next steps, but it all relates. It all relates to the way you treat us, and I wasn't going to be angry, but, I believe in, I'm a political unaffiliated. I'm not affiliated with any party, but I believe in democracy. Okay, that's, you all wear your little pins. I don't wear a pin, but I truly believe in democracy because my father was a World War II vet. So Daily Gazette, Jay Schneiderman comes to the Civic Association and once again wants to take the new version of the HBDOD, which is just basically, Schneidermanville, the spot between the park and Main Street, reduced location, and do it in small groups, again, leaving out people. There's a case, Daily Gazette versus Town of Cableville in New York regarding open meeting law. You've heard of that, I think. Democracy is like a precious jewel, shines most brilliantly in the light of open government. Not closed-door meetings, not secret reviews that are half-assed, open, free government discussions. New York State law says the people must be able to remain informed if they ought to retain control over those who are their public servants. It is the only climate under which the Commonwealth will prosper and enable the government process to operate for the benefit of those that created it. This is what we're talking about here. This is what we're talking about. You talk about what's going on outside of this country. This is what's going on here, where we want to take meetings in closed doors, keep people out of meetings, circumvent the open meeting law. So in that meeting, thank you, Mr. Martell, for standing up for the people of Hampton Bays, where you said, I think we decided to do it in small groups. And Mr. Martell says, no, I don't think that's what we decided. So I say, we decided? The two of you decided? Or was it the whole meeting? Now, when was that discussed? So I go back, because I'm a pit bull on crack, and I go back and I check, dog with a bone, Liz Hook called me. September 7th, you all took into executive session the update of a historical, I would call it hysterical, concepts. It's a joke, the contract is a joke. And you take it into open session, the update, and legal opinions. So I'm thinking, is this what government is now? It's like legal opinions, or you working against lawsuits? There was no open meeting about what the update was. You took it into executive session. And that Gazelle lawsuit was exactly that case, about things being taken into executive session. So now what do? I spend my time deciding what the statute of limitation is for me to sue the town, if I have grounds to sue the town, that you violated the open meeting law. I mean, is that how I want to spend my quality free time? Because I just spent the whole summer on Bess. No, I don't want to start doing that. You guys have to be open and clear and be able, this is what government is. This is what democracy is. This is what we're supposed to be doing. You talked about what happened in Israel. This is why those things happen. That's why you have tyranny. It starts with little pieces. It doesn't start with bombing each other. So how about we start not having little private meetings where people get kicked out of them or separated from them? The second thing is I have a real problem with conflicts of interest. Here's an article, go to the Sustainability Committee. Here's an article from June.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Here's an article where your chair of the Sustainability Committee, Lynn Arthur, it's quoted as saying she's been selected by Jewel, am I pronouncing that correctly? Yes. Jewel, as their community organizer. So does that mean she's being paid by the company you've chosen for the CCA? I'm trying to understand how this all works. And one other thing, I want to bring up your audit committee, which is close to my heart as a CPA. It's usually the top of the top of the top of the heap of CPAs. So I looked up the 5 members of your CPA, of your audit committee. Not one of them has a CPA license. Not one of them. One of them actually has some finance background in private sector, who ironically his name is Moneypenny, which I found hysterical. And the rest of them? Seriously? And you probably use that for street credit for your financial statements, right? With the SEC and the and all the other authorities like Moody's. So I hope, I don't agree, I'm sorry, that Jay, you should stay on, because I honestly don't think.
All right, thank you for your vote of confidence. All right.
I should clarify something, Ms. Lombardi, that Ms. Arthur is not chair of the Sustainability Committee. She's a member. She's on it.
How can she be on an audit committee and be on the sustainability committee at the same time?
You can't have people
I'm not
speaking
having,
for the
I'm
audience.
just clarifying something. I'm not having a debate. Thank you.
There are a number of
Thank
people
you.
on a number of committees.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate people serving on these volunteer committees. All right, I got Bonnie Doyle next.
Good afternoon, everybody. Bonnie Doyle, Hampton Bays. About less than a quarter of a mile from my home is this best potential facility. And obviously, I'm here speaking about this again. And I am a little bit concerned about what Ms. McNamara just said with regard to the State Commission. And that it doesn't make any sense to rezone at this point if it's not recommended by the commission. I see rezoning as a final answer to this. Perhaps you've got some other things, but to me, that we're trying to explain to you our issues, and then we've got the whole level of the state to handle as well. So it's a great concern to me, and I mean, I'm very happy to hear Mr. Schneiderman say that if the facts are accurate coming from the commission, I can't imagine that the code won't change. And we just need to have this code change so that these facilities are not harming anybody, including us. So thank you for your time, and please keep in mind everything that's been said over the last 6 months. We're really concerned, and I can talk with you privately about my personal concerns. So please take it to heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And yeah, I think we all understand that there's significant public concern. To go now and to change the zoning without a formal report that confirms those concerns factually would leave the town vulnerable to a challenge.
It's not
So-
just,
So you have to, if you're gonna change zoning in light of new information, make sure you've documented that carefully. Otherwise, you're just inviting litigation and the reversal of those changes. So it's a necessary step. Finish the moratorium. Nobody can do anything in the period that the moratorium's in place, and so you don't have to worry that it's suddenly gonna get built. It won't. And then if the analysis determines that those concerns are fact-based, then yes, and you need to modify your zoning. So
and I just wanted to clarify that nobody's discounting anybody's concerns, and to say that you don't want them in residential areas, I get that, but simply putting them in another zoning category doesn't solve all the problems. There are residences next to industrial zones, there are residents next to highway business, so that's why we need to know exactly what we're doing, what the setbacks need to be, and all of that has to be looked into before we can just stick it in a zone.
And they may not all be, energy storage, there may be different types of energy storage, some that, provide, some that could have these concerns, and some that you may not have these concerns, so,
Why doesn't somebody look into what the battery storage capabilities are now? If you would like.
Yeah, that's all part of this review, so we need to look at the technologies and, a blanket policy that might, may not make sense, so the board will have to figure that out. I can't have the, people speaking from the audience, Steve and others, because of, it won't come out in our recording. So, but I will go on to the next speaker, I'm sorry, just patience, the next one is Ray D'Angelo.
I just want to make a couple of comments before I talk. First of all, I have gone to shows at the West Hampton Theater, and I do support. I wasn't, she got up and she's not here any longer, and I think she misunderstood what I was saying. I'm thinking, we want something for Hampton Bays. I wasn't speaking against that. I've gone there a couple of times, and it's a nice building, and I'm happy that it is. I'm supported that it's going to get that designation. The other thing about Columbus Day, I want to thank Cindy McNamara and Rick Martell for attending our luncheon, the Italian-American Association of Hampton Bays, our Columbus Day luncheon, and I want to thank you for your support, and it was a good time had by the well. Okay, now I'm here. I want to talk about community choice aggregation, power supplies. And previously when I've been here, I didn't speak about it, but we had a lot of speakers here talking about the big savings that would be incurred with these programs. And I thought we'd bring up some facts. Facts, former Senator Moynihan said, everybody can have an opinion, but you can't have your own facts. And here I'm going to talk about the program up in Westchester. And what happened in Westchester was when the first year, in I think 2022, to November of 2022, and the ESCO was the Westchester Power supply, I guess, what the heck's the name of it? Well, it was the Westchester something, I can't seem to read my own writing. Oh, Westchester Power, when the people that signed up for this program, they did incur a savings. It was about 27 to 28% cheaper than Con Edison's rate. That's this, the Con Edison is the utility up there. Then in November of 2022, they received their bills, and the Westchester Power's cost doubled. It doubled, and now it became 60% more than the Con Edison's rates. Later on, it got a little cheaper to 27% more. And the point of contention was, and I'm concerned about this, the supervisor, Mr. Feiner, was saying that they never notified anybody. In New York State, the utilities are required to put the kilowatt usage price on the bill, but it's hard to find. I mean, if you look at those bills, I mean, it's difficult to figure the whole thing out. And they never notified a lot of people. So the supervisor went every month and put the rates on their website. The problem is, and this is the problem I know about, is that many of the people in our town, older people, do not have internet access. They don't go on these websites. And now when you've forced everybody to be in this program, they, unbeknownst to them, they might be paying actually more than they have to for electricity, because it's been historically, I mean, this is not the only example I have, that after a couple of years, sometimes these programs are actually charged more than regular usage, from regular sources. And it's just common sense. I mean, only 10% of the of the energy generated in this country is from green sources. So as more of these programs come on, they're all going after a scarce amount of generation. So the price is going to go up. So my only complaint about it is why is this program? Everybody was mandated. Everybody had to be in it. I think that you could have opted in it if you wanted, and then
3 minutes.
Or you didn't have to be in it. Now you have to opt out, and we have a lot of people, I know from my work in the senior center, that are not aware of this, and they could end up paying more. And this is you know, Mr. Bouvier wants to counter what I'm saying. He's more than welcome. One other thing I want to say about the sustainability committee.
Last comment, because you're over 3, so yeah.
Well, I just want to get this out. The sustainability. Well, I just want to correct something he said. The chairperson or co-chair of the sustainability committee also serves on the planning board. And the planning board for the last 19 months has been considering the best unit. She should have, in my opinion, recused herself. And I think the fact that she didn't really compromised all those negotiations for 19 months. And here, once she was on a committee that was advocating this thing, and then she was on the planning board, which had the final decision on this thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. D'Angelo, sir.
Mr. D'Angelo, if I receive an invitation to the Italian-American lunch, I would go. I'm up for a good eggplant parm.
Christmas party's coming
Mr.
up.
Schiavone, I gave you an application.
Well,
and you just started it. I gave you an application. I don't know if you're ashamed of your heritage or not, but I gave you an application right here. I gave it to her, and then you got it, and you went like this. You went away from it. That's why you weren't invited. I'll give you another application. You're more than welcome.
So you have to be a member to be invited? Okay.
No,
No.
Well,
I'm not even Italian.
Was I invited?
As Ray said,
Anyway,
as
I
Ray
just-
said, if
I'm
you're
French.
Italian, you married an Italian, or you like Italian food,
You can join.
the
I like it. I just wouldn't want you to think that we're invited and didn't go. Because
John, I would never think that.
Yeah, I don't.
Well,
I didn't see the invite. Okay, so that's it for cards. Is there anyone else who didn't fill out a card who wished to be heard? All right, we'll go to our online group. We're in public portion. If you're watching from a remote location and wish to be heard by the town board, now's your opportunity. Just click the raise hand icon.
No hands.
All right, I'll make a motion to close public portion.
Second?
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on to our agenda. Town board resolutions, the first one, 1025 of 2023, authorize supervisor to sign lease with trustees for office space at 240 West Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, New York, Sean Cambridge, Assistant Town Attorney, is here to answer questions about this. I'm gonna make a motion to actually approve this, to gain the ability to enter into the lease. So is there a second on this?
I will second it.
All right, seconded by Councilman Montell. So on the motion, now, Sean, I know there was some initial debate with the trustees not getting the tax line, or at least not for next year, possibly the year after, whether a lease was necessary, but the lease does provide for a certain understanding between the two bodies, as well as provisions if they ever get to the point of having the tax line. So.
Right, I think that's fair. Initially, when we'd spoken with the Assemblyman, who had passed the bill getting to a trustee tax line, one of the discussions was a new home for the trustees. All of that's not part of the legislation. So the town purchased west of 240 Montauk Highway with the intention initially that the trustees would go in there.
And renovating it.
Well, I'm sorry.
And renovating it.
And renovating
Yeah.
the building as well, yes. So the governor recently signed a bill extending provisions of law that the tax line would not take place for an additional year. We've separated the lease from that tax line agreement. So in theory, the trustees could move in as soon as today if this board would authorize a lease. The lease is written in such a way that payments would not start until 30 days after approval of a tax line. So it's a process for the trustees to become financially independent, and we've written a lease to accommodate that. So there's no down payment, there's no deposit, there's none of the things that we see traditionally in a lease. This is a lease to move them into a different building, and then if they are approved for a tax line and receive funding from a tax bill directly instead of the way they receive funding now, that funding would reflect a figure for rent, which is the same figure we've given every other municipality that we are a landlord for. So this is the same lease the state police have received from the town, the same lease Suffolk County has received from the town. It's a boilerplate lease. The only significant change is that their rent obligation does not begin until they are directly funded.
Now, right now, the trustees are in a section of Town Hall, and they don't have a lease for that section. But this is a new building, there's town equipment and furnishings, and there is the possibility that at some point this tax line will happen. So we're using this juncture to establish a pre-understanding of, if that tax line occurs, how then the assets, will be controlled. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions about that. Have they indicated that they will sign this lease?
I've had no communication to that effect
That's
currently. I would note they have taken the position they're not a division of the town, so that's what separates them from other divisions of the town that occupy spaces without a lease. They are saying they are independent of the town and are pursuing those rights. That's why we're asking for a lease.
Because we have other elected officials, the highway superintendent, clerk, tax receiver. We don't have leases with any of them. Even, the highway superintendent's not in this building, as a separate building. But,
So I have a
but this is a little bit different because of that, the trustees and the Dongan patent and the organization predating the town, so it clarifies the understandings. Yeah, Councilman McNamara?
I just had a question on the third whereas, where it says the town shall allow the trustees to utilize a locked storage closet in the lower level at town hall. Oh, at town hall, this isn't at the,
Yes, the trustees still have expressed they intend to have their public meetings in town hall. So we had written an accommodation for them to keep their cart of files at town hall as part of this lease for no additional consideration.
okay. And then where it specifies half the basement, I do believe public safety has moved some of the stuff from the old public safety building into this building, and it may not be exactly half of the basement. I don't know if that changes anything because it's in the resolution, or if it would be addressed in the lease.
The lease was pretty general. It's a very large basement.
It's good,
I
good
don't-
drive, big
Yeah.
basement.
I don't foresee it being an issue.
Okay.
The lease also mentions second floor space that would be finished. Key phrase would be, it is unfinished attic space currently. So the lease mentions availability to flex space with the intention, if the town is to finish this attic space, we put some desks in there and give the trustees seasonal access for the piping plover endangered species program.
So that's in the upstairs would be flex space.
That's in the second floor.
But it reserves it for that program for the summer.
Right, this building's not entirely for the trustees, even with execution of a lease. Community housing development is housed here as well. They're in that second floor space with access to a community conference room and lobby area.
In the resolution, it speaks of a lease beginning October 1st.
Yes, this was tabled twice at this point. A lease has been extended. The drop dead date currently is going to be October 31st for that offer to be accepted. This is a town asset that's sitting vacant. It's a valuable asset. It's a very nice building that's been recently re-roofed. It's along major highways. It's a building that is in good shape, that in emergency conditions can be powered by a small generator. This is an ideal asset for the town.
So, we could change that, or you also have the word commencing, where I think you mean terminating. So the trustees have requested a 2-year and, 3-month lease beginning October 1st, 2023, and commencing December 31st, 2026.
That's a typo on the resolution. The lease does not have that language.
Right. Now, does this require, I'm a little bit concerned if they do, assuming the board authorizes me to enter into this lease on behalf of the town, what if the trustees wait weeks and weeks before authorizing Mr. President Horowitz to enter into the lease on behalf of the trustees? It's not fair for us to keep this building empty. So is there a drop dead date by which they need to agree to the lease?
Right, the date written into the last
and move in.
proposal was October 31st of 2023.
But that can be extended.
It's a drop dead
That's
date.
to sign, that's to sign the lease. What if they decide they don't move in? What if it goes on for months and they do not vacate town hall?
That's another possibility.
So
And then we can revoke the lease, we can put language in there, I guess, and we haven't agreed on the final language of the lease, and I think.
Right, so
What
we
what this
could-
would do is authorize the supervisor to sign a lease, with the terms finally worked out. I mean, then there's questions, the building is not, you mentioned vacant, community housing is on the second floor, and the Marine Patrol is in the back building now, so the property is being used. I did speak with President Horowitz and one of the other trustees, Ann, on Thursday of last week. I think Scott indicated that they had interest in moving to the site. I asked the question a couple times, and they certainly seemed that they were interested in doing so, but I didn't get a definite yes. So I think that we should put some type of time frame in there.
We can do that.
With a determinate move-in date.
Yeah.
Generally, all leases, we do have
Right,
subject
but
to town
they,
attorney.
what they're signing includes that, it's
Yeah.
not one
Oh, yeah,
step at a
yeah,
time.
you're
It's
right.
right to the end.
Right, and I think we can address what Councilman Martell brought up too, is like, if you agreed, if you sign a lease, but there's a drop dead when you have to move into, or like you.
Just for historic reference here, this is a building that they wanted at one time.
Yes.
I mean, they asked for it, they wanted it, we renovated
It's a great
it with
building.
this in mind, this was the plan. They had agreed years ago to do that, okay.
Yes.
Well, so the town purchased and renovated the building.
There was a need for
With
this
that
building
intention.
for the trustees. I mean, that was the main reason they did this. They asked for that because they had a need.
The
They
town
had the
attorney's
space.
office did a walkthrough
Right.
with them. They expressed what tweaks they would like to furnishings and things like that. and they've not yet signed the lease. We anticipated and hope they will, but that's what this resolution's for today.
And the number that we're including on this is merely to articulate the value for some possible negotiations or IMU with the trustees if the tax line does come into play.
Correct. The rent figures are there for the purpose, if the trustees are wholly funded on a separate tax line, the town would be on the hook for the rent. Otherwise, the trustees want to pay their rent. It also leaves the option if they were to move outside of a town facility, they'd have a value, assessed for that rental, where they could rent space on their own.
But the lease does provide significant notice to the town if they are going to vacate.
Right, any lease, we've been asking for a 2-year notice period.
2 years? I thought it was 1 year on this.
We had a 2-year term, 1-year cancellation.
1 year cancellation, yeah.
So that's pretty standard for most leases in a commercial setting. That's the idea. We want to give them
And the
standard
financial impact that's listed in the resolution, obviously year one of 2023, 72,000, there's not going to be rent in 2023. 2023 is.
Right, this resolution was calendared.
2024, there's not going to be 74,160 coming to the town because they will not have the ability to collect taxes themselves until 2025.
Right, this resolution was calendared prior to the governor's execution, extending all provisions 1 year. This was tabled twice, that's why this language is not updated.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other questions?
No. Just that this is a town asset, and every day that goes by, the highest and best use for this asset may not be the trustees. So if they really want this building, they need to talk to you, sign an agreement, and let's get this done, because leaving it vacant is not benefiting anybody.
I think that whether the lease and your authorization to me to sign this, whether it's contingent upon them signing by a certain date or entering the building by a certain date, we can always, even if you authorize me to sign this lease and a month goes by and they still haven't signed a lease, you can unauthorize me to sign a lease. You can rescind this ability and we can put it to a different use.
Right, authorization doesn't mean acceptance. This is for the town to make an offer of a lease. If there's no acceptance, that's why we're looking for.
So this assumes that we're gonna come to agreeable terms with the, which I can't tell, we didn't with the tax line,
This
with the
authorizes
MOA.
you to engage in that conversation.
Right.
It
Well,
helps.
It authorizes me to execute the document if we reach an agreeable document. I don't know if the trustee board will authorize President Horowitz to enter into the lease, so.
I am aware they have a meeting ahead of the deadline that we're asking for, so they have the ability to do this.
They do, but if they, want language in the lease that is not agreeable to council, to the town board, then, I'm not signing the lease unless the board is comfortable with the changes made. Any changes that they make to what you've presented to them, I will come back to the board before.
We're hoping there'll be few, because this, like I said, this is more
It
than.
seems like the end of the rope to me. I mean, we've gone through this so long and we've gone through all the details. We've spent a lot of time on this. And as Rick said, this is an asset that's left unused right now because of this. It was built at a request for this space, and I think we have to do this, and we have to say, let's get on with running the town.
I think most of the trustees, not all of them, the elected trustees, most of them live on the west side of the canal. I think most of the staff live on the west side of the canal.
Actually,
and
the walkthrough was
most of the
favorable.
public lives on the west side of the canal, so it just seems like a good situation for them. But if they're not going to take advantage of it, at some point, we have other offices that we certainly could locate there that would also provide a similar benefit to the public. We're not gonna sit, it's not gonna sit empty. It's too big of an investment. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, so, There was a motion and a second. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. Approved.
Town Board Resolution 1106 of 2023, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, resolution authorizing enforcement action at 11 Flanders Road, Riverside. I'd like to withdraw it.
All right. Would the clerk please consider 1106 withdrawn? Rick, are you
Yes,
consenting
that's
to
fine,
that
yes.
as the co-sponsor? I'm not sure it's required, but
Yes.
let's get that on the record that both sponsors are withdrawing.
Town Board Resolution 1136 of 2023, co-sponsored with Councilman Schiavone and Councilwoman McNamara, authorize construction of the Riverside Maritime Park Trail from the Town of Huntington contract with the Land Tech Group Incorporated.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. Just on this, just real briefly, so I have reached out, I know there's grant money involved with this, but I've reached out to Assemblyman Thiel with the question of whether CPF stewardship money, which allows us to enhance access to open space, it's one of the clearly delineated uses of CPF fund, whether that provision, which certainly allows trails, walkways, parking areas, or certain things, whether that could be open space that is not CPF acquired open space. I don't have an answer yet, but it very well may be that even though the county owns this section of the park, that we're allowed to expend CPF money on improving the trail system on this park, which would be a real home run. So I'm just waiting for clarification from Assemblyman Thiel. Just wanted to tell you that. Because it doesn't, the statute doesn't say limited to CPF. And sometimes CPF monies go off of CPF funds, like the pilot program we discussed earlier, where pilots are being paid from CPF, even for county lands and state lands and things like that. So wouldn't be unprecedented. So I'm just waiting for Fred to let me know.
The county was very limited on what they exactly wanted to see done here anyway, so
Yeah.
I don't know how much more we could add
Yeah,
to
it
it.
may be that the grant money will cover most of what we're doing here. It's a $500,000 expense, right? All right, so we got a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 1144 of 2023, authorized payment to Troy and Banks Consulting LLC,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That had to do with that, Cablevision franchise fee
Franchise fee
shortage.
Audit.
So this, I guess, is the settlement and allows us to pay the consultants. All right, so Sunday, did I call a vote on that?
Yep.
Yes, all that
Yes.
was approved? All right. 1145 of 2023, this authorized supervisor to sign contract with Brock Awnings LTD for the repair of awning at Hampton Bays Community Center,
Second?
seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1146 of 2023, authorized supervisor to sign a contract with Cushman and Wakefield of Long Island Incorporated to provide a preliminary report to be utilized in pending tax statutory matters for Shinnecock Hills Golf Club.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. Just before we vote, just Sunday on that last resolution, just a scrivener's error on the 6,884 in the last resolve, just missing the dollar sign in front of it. All right, so on this one, 1146, a motion, seconded by Councilman Schiavone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 1147 of 2023, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with SourcePass Contemporary for installation of network infrastructure enhancements.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1148 of 2023, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with SourcePass Contemporary for the upgrade of IT network security hardware.
Same second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
And Town Board Resolution 1149 of 2023, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with SourcePass Contemporary LLC for an upgrade of the town's network connectivity.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1150 of 23, authorized, this is co-sponsored by Councilman Bouvier, authorized supervisor to sign a professional services agreement to design a groundwater monitoring plan at Hampton Bays, North Sea, and West Hampton transfer stations with PW Grosser Consulting, Inc.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1151 of 23, co-sponsored with Councilman Bouvier and Councilwoman McNamara, authorized supervisor to sign contract extension with G&M Dej, Inc. for vehicle fuel management system maintenance and installation.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1152 of 23, authorized the rental of equipment from the Suffolk County contract for construction equipment and dredging services with H&L Contracting LLC.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1153 of 23, co-sponsored with Councilman Bouvier, authorized the supervisor to apply for and receive funding from the PSEGLI Electric Vehicle Make-Ready Program.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 2023-1154, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara, is to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with Waste Zero for the supply and distribution of garbage bags.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1155 of 2023, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Old Dominion Brush Company Incorporated, ODB, for the purchase of parts to repair the ODB collector equipment for the Highway Department.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1156 of 2023, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorized the supervisor to execute an agreement with the Long Island Telecommunications and Electronic Services, Inc. for portable radios to the Hampton Bays Water District.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1157 of 23, authorized the supervisor to sign amended agreements for professional surveying firms for the Fire Island to Montauk Point project.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1158 of 2023, co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone, is to award and authorize supervisor to sign contracts for Tiana's life-saving station restoration, rebid with Construction Consultants / LI Incorporated for for general construction. I'm sorry, I've lost sight in one eye. Weird. For general construction, Ronald Webb Builder LLC for HVAC construction, Plumwell Services LLC for plumbing construction, and MRJ Industries Incorporated for electrical construction.
Second.
That was a long.
You okay?
I all of a sudden I couldn't focus on one
Can you
eye
see
with one
now?
eye. Huh?
You see okay now?
Yeah.
How many fingers?
4.
You're good.
He's good.
All right,
Be careful.
so, and then Councilman Scavone seconded, correct?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I'll call the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Where are we? 1159.
Yep.
Town Board Resolution 1159 of 2023 is to award and authorize supervisor to sign an extended agreement for irrigation maintenance and repair with Coastal Commercial Property Management Incorporated.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1160 of 2023, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Otis Ford for Ford F-250 Super Duty with Western 8-foot.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 1161 of 23, award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Tower Point Capital LLC for the purpose of the design, construction, and management of a wireless communication structure.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. So this is for the North Sea landfill transfer station location. And as the board's aware, there's a whole process we go through with this, but, all right, so it's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1162, 2023, declare item surplus and authorize disposal of vehicles.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 1163 of 2023, co-sponsored with Councilman Bouvier, Councilman Scavone, and Councilwoman McNamara, Recall and amend Resolution 2023-1028, authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract with LK McLean Associates, PC, for professional services related to the installation of a new IA sanitary system at Hot Dog Beach.
Second?
Seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. Just on the motion, so we are building the comfort station,
Yes.
correct? Is that part of this, or that this is just the sanitary piece?
This is the sanitary piece, as I understand it.
Okay, we're gonna have to put up, obviously, because I think we've been running the portable, the trailer basically with bathrooms, which I guess could connect to this, but I think ultimately, that is a heavily used beach. We really need to have a comfort station there. That is also a CPF property, Hot Dog Beach, so it's, that's one of those gray areas in terms of whether a comfort station can be built using CPF, whether it enhances the access. I believe it does, but I think, we're seeking counsel on that in terms of whether, but either way, we're gonna have to put a comfort station there, even if CPF can't pay for it. 1164 of 23, supervisor to authorize payment for boat ramps.
Second?
Oh,
I don't have a vote. for the-
oh, I'm sorry,
Oh.
did we not vote on 1163? All right, I'll call the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved, unanimous. 1164 is co-sponsored with Councilman McNamara, supervisor to authorize payment for boat ramps.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman McNamara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1165 of 23, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Alfred G. Camisa, M.A., Tracker Archaeology, Inc., to prepare a Phase 1A archaeological survey for the proposed Riverside Capital Improvement Sewer District.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1166, co-sponsored with Councilman Bouvier, 2023 notice to bidders for West Hampton Community Center.
Second.
Seconded by
Happily
Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. Can't wait for that one.
Well, we have been.
11's, yeah, we have been waiting. 1167 of 23 amends the 2023 adopted budget for acquisition of a portion of 46 Bell Avenue, Flanders.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. I believe this is a piece of the Blaze Church's property that we'd be acquiring for $65,000 for the purposes of expansion of our ambulance park.
That's correct.
Okay, so a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 1168 of 23 amends the 2023 adopted budget for CPF Capital Project Tiana Life Saving Station and CPF Stewardship Program.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 1169 of 2023 amends the 2023 budget for various departments.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. It's a housekeeping resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 1170 of 23, authorize additional funds for Soderlin, Balin, Adler, and Hyman LLP to represent and defend the town as it relates to Rose Hill Road in Watermill, New York. This is over the trustee license agreement with the neighbor we were sued over.
This is past events, right, not future funding?
This is for you.
Yeah, it's bills we have to
We have
pay.
to pay.
Right, right,
Okay, I'll
absolutely.
second.
Yeah.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Mm.
All right, 1171 of 2023, authorize additional funds for process services from One World Judicial Services, Inc.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 1172, 23, authorize the town to reimburse New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, NYMER, the deductible for bodily injury and property damage claims.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1173 of 2023, resolution of adopting and acting Chapter 67-A entitled The Traffic Violation Bureau Enforcement of Civil Violation of New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, VTL, Section 1174-A, hearing before Administrative Law Judge.
Second.
All right, seconded by Councilman Scavone. Any discussion on this?
We had a
No,
the public hearing today.
I know. I just want to make sure it's a big, it's a major, creation of an ALJ and a whole procedure to deal with it. We had the public hearing. I appreciate all the work that Sean Cambridge has done in connection with this and putting this together. So,
And the scope is limited to the bus camera program. That's
Yeah.
important.
Yep.
We've had a lot of interaction with Suffolk County on this, and,
Jim, thank you for your work on this too, and the judges.
yeah, it's necessary. It very much is. It's, you compare it, when this bus patrol was put into place, the 5 western towns, as Councilman Scavone mentioned earlier, TVB's already in place, so it was easy, it was seamless. But in the 5 eastern towns, nobody really knew how to address this.
They already
Quite
had
frank-
it because of the red light camera.
Sure,
program.
right, exactly,
Right, so they had
exactly, that's in
established-
place, and our justice court is really akin to the 5 east end towns is the district courts, and has similar jurisdiction and our justice court functions. And the red light cameras and the bus patrol are not being heard at the district courts, they're being heard at this Traffic Violations Bureau in Hopog in the Dennison building, and that's where they hold these. And so we'll be doing something similar with this process,
I mean, this
but
is-
only for the bus patrol.
This is, specific to the bus patrol.
Bus patrol
If
tickets, yeah.
one day there are speed cameras or red light
Right,
cameras,
right.
you'd have to do specific,
Right, we could
either
do
create a
that,
different thing or amend this to
Right.
allow for other types of automated ticketing to be heard.
Yeah.
It doesn't deal with parking tickets at all, that
No,
goes through the
not at all,
traditional.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
All right.
Also, yeah.
All right, so we had a motion by Councilman Martell, second by Councilman Scavone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. All right,
Page 40.
Yep, 1174 of 2023, accepts donation to the North Sea Beach Colony Beach Erosion Control District.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1175 of 2023, appoint Lori Riamondo to the Noyak CAC.
All second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 1176 of 2023, authorization of cost reimbursement, co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone's authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Hampton Bays Fire Department Turkey Trot 5K on November 23rd, 2023, from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution
Mention a turkey.
1178.
77.
5K.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bottom of the preceding page.
Jumping,
7-7.
I'm like blurred on one side here. There we go, 1176 or 77. Town Board Resolution 1177 of 2023, co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone and Councilman Martell, is authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Friends of Hampton Bays Library Magical Sleigh Ride to be held on December 2nd, 2023.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 1178, co-sponsored with the entire town board. Historic landmark designation of the structure known as the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center located at 76 Main Street, Village of West Hampton Beach.
Second.
You want to flip a coin? Who's my second?
Aye.
Councilman
I'd
Scavone?
like to second that.
All right. Right. Sunday is second. All right, I'll take the second from Councilman Scavone. On the motion, this is certainly something I've been looking forward to for quite some time. I think it's a building certainly worthy of a historic landmark status. I think everybody in the West Hampton Beach area would agree. This is iconic structure. It's a central architectural structure in that village. The village would not be the same without that building. The identity of the village would be radically altered without that building there. So I think that it's really important. The next step will be, after we do this, examining the purchase of certain commercial rights and facade easements and things like that, similar to what we did in Sag Harbor with the cinema there. But this is a necessary step before we can even have that conversation. So
I'm actually shocked more people didn't come out in support of it.
I did probably assume that it's gonna go through, but it's
Well,
also.
it's been such a long negotiation developing the IMA, so it's
Mhm.
been, we all knew where it was going, and it just got there, and everyone's sort of like, oh, great.
Yeah, I've had support expressed to me by a number of West Hampton Beach officials. So I know that this is something that the board there is very supportive of. So-
And we've met a lot of times over the years to get here, so I'm glad it's finally here.
I'd like to point out to the board as well is that in Sag Harbor, we are a federal historic district, and that's significant.
Mm.
I support this 100%.
All right, any other
That's a
discussion?
good point, thank you, yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. All right, 1179 of 2023, release of maintenance bond in connection with canal properties in Hampton Bays.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1180 of 2023, authorized conference attendance for Youth Bureau.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I approved 1181 of 2023, accepts resignation of Linnea Piazza, Senior Office Assistant and Trustee.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 1182 of 23, accepts resignation of Sage Ranieri Certain, audiovisual aid in education and government cable.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 1183 of 2023, co-sponsored with the board, appoints Kara Cheeseman back to Director of Housing from Civil Service List.
Second.
Seconded by
And on the
Councilman
motion,
Bouvier on the motion.
I'd
Councilman
just
Bouvier.
like to thank Kara, Tommy John and I both serve as liaison to all the things that she does in community housing development. It's been a good, solid relationship, and we're going forward with a lot of good stuff. So I just want to thank her and congratulate her.
And I know, Rick, you work with her on this.
On the Youth
Yeah,
Bureau,
the
yeah.
youth.
We're doing reorganization there. It's working out tremendously well.
And I
Yeah,
work
it's
with
a
her
good-
on
it
And you're
works
on
together well.
seniors.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we're all co-sponsoring this, and I work
All
with her on.
liaisons.
I work with her in all of those capacities.
Poor Kara.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sometimes. But she's always answers the phone nicely.
does.
Yeah.
My office's
No,
loss
and-
is housing's gain.
And now, we're just starting to see some of the money from the Community Housing Fund start to come in, and she's gonna have her work cut out for her. So. But anyway, so we had a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved, and congratulations to Kara. All right, 1184, 2023, co-sponsored by Councilman Martell and Councilman McNamara, appoints Keith Tuthill to Assistant Water District Superintendent in the Hampton Bays Water District.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved, and congratulations to Mr. Tuttle. 1185 of 23 appoints Martin Culloden to Town Investigator from Civil Service List.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved, and congratulations to Martin. 1186 of 23 attend FBI Basic Police Sniper School.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved. 1187 of 23 is a notice of public hearing regarding the lease of town land for the purpose of design, construction, and management of a wireless communication structure. This is related to the Shinnecock Commercial Fishing Dock,
Second?
and the hearing would be October 24th, 2023, seconded by, and that's this evening meeting, seconded by Councilwoman McNamara. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the motion, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. 1188 of 23, notice of public hearing to consider amending Town Code Chapter 169, flood damage prevention to be consistent with state program changes.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved.
Town Board Resolution 1189 of 2023, notice of public hearing to consider amending Town Code 330-50, 330-51, and 330-109 in connection with the permitting process for agricultural fencing.
Second.
This will be a November 28th hearing at 6 PM. Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay, resolution ID number 44441 is the 19th warrant, as well as capital, CPF, and payroll.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 44452 appoints Epic EPIC insurance brokers and consultants as insurance broker for the town.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman McNamara. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 44453, authorize the town comptroller to purchase the necessary property casualty auto liability insurance policies.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 44454, authorization for the supervisor to sign a second lease amendment with New York SMSA Limited Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless for space on water tower located at Old Riverhead Road in Hampton Bays.
Second.
That'll be some additional revenue for the water district. Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, approved. So that gets us to the end. On just quickly on other business, the county's been setting up for dredging the eastern cut of the Shinnecock Inlet on the inner bay, and pumping that sand onto the beach just to the west side of Shinnecock Inlet. I was there just over the weekend, and they're setting up the pipes. I don't know whether the operation has begun. There is some inclement weather, though, that may affect things this weekend. I'm hoping we get some sand built up there, though, prior to that point, because if we do get rough seas, remains pretty vulnerable. But that project does promise, I think, around 80,000 cubic yards of sand in that location. And that is sorely needed. I just wanted to thank the trustees for their work in requesting that dredging and working with the county on the permitting side. So, other than that, again, we'll kind of keep monitoring the situation in the Middle East, and certainly hope for peace in the region as soon as possible. So, any other business? All right, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.